go, Jay.
Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. We're back again with a. Am I supposed to be looking here?
No, you gotta get the mic. Pure madness.
Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. We are back with a microphone swung this
All
way.
right.
Before I introduce you to our guest,
Are you really
here's
starting?
a quote. This is
Oh,
great. This is
okay,
like
all right.
real stuff.
All right, it's real stuff.
Here's a quote just for this episode. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung.
Ooh.
Our guest today, an a leader, an advisor, a servant of CEOs desiring to keep the title, founders ambitious enough to aim for it, friend of the Culture Matters podcast, colleague, all things here at One Team Media, Top Contractor School, the Pavement Group. Of course, we have Victory. And today we're hopefully going to be victorious over learning a little bit more of the different types of leaders that our guest today, Eric Guy, has led and served and added value to over the decades.
Yeah, I'm excited about this, JC.
Thanks for coming.
JC, baby, the big JC. Finally get on here, huh? Somebody must have canceled.
A couple cancellations. You know, I first I'd like to start with how would you describe the value that comes, the value that's created in the relationship of the ultimate leader of an organization, right? That chief executive seat and their advisors, their cabinet.
How would I describe
the value that's created in that relation, in those relationships?
Yeah.
The value that's created for the customer, for the employees, for shareholders. How would you describe that?
We're talking about the right person.
Ooh. Yeah, we should talk about the wrong one. Wrong types too. But yeah, let's start with the right.
Indispensable, right? You have somebody that's confident, that kind of understands, that has, I think a really great one, has the best interest of that CEO, right? Has the best interest of the CEO and seeing that company do well, to flourish, as opposed to I've seen some of them, if you're going to the bad side of things, is like they're kind of just in it for them. A really great one is there just to be of service. Yeah, I'm seeing you do that. I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but I've witnessed that in your ability to do that, at least here. Be behind the scenes and serve in that manner, be able to say hard things, right? You don't, definitely a leader does not need somebody just to blow smoke up their hind end all the time. I mean, I learned long time ago, being a leader, that that happens quite a bit. And it's the harder things that need said that makes a great advisor great and invaluable to that leader, for sure. Whereas somebody, a bad one would be somebody that doesn't want to provide that feedback. And it could go the other way, right? You could have a CEO that doesn't want to hear those things. So that you have to be willing to be able to hear those things. If you want a really good advisor, if you want a bad one that doesn't do that and does blow smoke up your hind end, then you're just going to get at best a mediocre one. But if you really want to be a better person, a better leader, you have to have somebody that's going to tell you the truth.
What can that actually do for the leader?
Well, one, I mean, a lot of leaders just don't have a lot of people to rely on, right? Because nobody's doing that, right? Nobody's out there unless they're, have another inner circle or something, a group that's going to do that. They're really not. They really don't have that. So that could be that person that, hears them out. But when you tell them the truth, that gives them the opportunity to be better. And if they do have those aspirations to be a better leader, they're going to want to be better, and they're they're going to appreciate that type of feedback, even though at the time it may sting.
What are some advice you can give us on how to relay feedback without hurting people's feelings?
That's a good question, Jay, because I don't think I've always done that well.
Well, as Abraham Lincoln said, we learn from everyone we meet. Usually it's what not to do, Eric Guy.
Yeah. I think when the
What's not worked, I guess.
What's not worked is when I don't have a relationship with that person.
Mm.
And I think just reminding that person of the relationship, prefacing it as, hey, look, I care deeply about you. I'm not doing this to put you down, belittle you, anything like that. I was just using this example. I told my daughter of an example. We were talking about Monday. We were off at a coffee shop, kind of having a one-to-one with each other, outside the company, outside the company office. And, I was giving her an example of what you're just talking about. I don't know how it came up, but I said, look, I had a person. He actually became a better friend after I told him the truth. And I said, hey, look, I brought you here because I'm concerned. I'm concerned for you. I'm concerned for your family. I'm concerned for your marriage. I'm concerned for your daughter, and I'm concerned for your business. You run a great business, but you look 15 years older than me, yet you're 15 years younger than me. Something's got to give. And I said, I want to be direct with you because I know you can take it, and I know our relationship is strong. And I said, you don't need to tell anybody else that we've had this conversation. I'm not saying it, but he did. Like, it moved him so much. I think it was just the genuine care that I have for him, still have, and we'll probably, unless something drastically would change, I don't know. But we have a very great relationship. And I think when it can come from the heart like that, I have a couple people like that in my life. I think of another person, he's just very direct. And if somebody heard him say some of the things he did to me, they would go like, wow. Ooh. But he just gets so passionate about me and the other people in our circle getting better. So there's the intention behind it as well. I think that's all important when that person knows that you have, their best interest in mind. And I think that's the first thing you need with a leader, as an advisor to that leader. I think that's what that leader needs to look for. Like, can this person actually tell me the truth? Do they have that ability? Because sometimes you get into those relationships, at least I have, Jay, where it becomes really close, right? And then you stop because you're nervous because you've built that relationship. So now we have this, and it's like, oh, I don't want to tell that person that now, as before we could. Well, if that relationship's that close, you deserve to tell each other the truth. And it's just, I guess it's how it comes across. But to get back to your question, I think I always preface it, or always try to preface it. When I haven't prefaced it, it has come off. I mean, the intention was correct, but not how it landed. The impact was not. It landed hard. When I've taken the time to preface it, the impact was congruent with the intention.
How have you stayed calm under times of duress? Like, what have you done to stay calm under times of duress to keep the professionalism?
I guess for me, it's just the self-awareness, like, and knowing what's going on. Is this? I think for me, the biggest thing is like this isn't that big of an issue always. Feels like it, but to not blow it out of proportion. And when usually there's disruption, right? I think I look to, what is actually going on? What's the truth? Is this my problem? Is this other person's problem? Or is it, sometimes when there's tension between two people, a lot of times we have to focus. It's not you against me, it's us against the problem. Like,
Mm.
what are we trying to solve for? Like, we were going back and forth, which I kind of like having with you, that, those whiteboarding sessions. Haven't had that in a couple months, but I had to get that whiteboard session in with you today, this morning. And that was fun going back, because it's not you trying to move, me trying to move, and trying to, kind of circumvent one another and do all this and try to battle for position. It's like, what's the issue? Like, and then we're gonna get the solution together. But coming at it from that angle, right?
Yeah, what advice do you have for our listeners of how to make it a us versus the problem versus, uh, yeah, me versus you, or you versus me, or us versus them? Because
Well,
that so easily digresses.
yeah, yeah. And I would be curious, as your input too. It's
Sure.
it's okay to disagree, right? But if we're fighting the same enemy, and we have, defining the enemy, like, you even said it once today. Hey, look, we're going to get to a solution. A lot of times we forget to do that. Again, it's prefacing this, like,
Mm.
here's the bigger picture, guys. Here's the issue, and remembering too, right? I don't think it was you this morning. I think it was Brian. Just remembering how far we've come. Like, we've gotten over much smaller issues in the past. What makes you think we can't get through this one, right? Together. And reminding, prefacing that, and reminding, and don't, trying to stay, like I asked you today on something. It doesn't matter what it was, but I tried to step back and, okay, like, Jay's presenting a different idea. I can't remember exactly how I asked you, but, like, hey, I want to be open minded to the idea that you're presenting here, and I said it out loud, and it is at least helpful to me to be able to go, okay, look, I have one idea. Maybe that's not the right idea. Or maybe it's a combination of the two. I don't know until I listen. But listening to one another, I think that's it, and not just coming in hard with an agenda, which I think a lot of leaders do.
Like the solution first before we even gather intel.
Yeah.
Why do you think we get so caught up in that? The solution first. Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Is it is it posturing?
It's maybe all those things. Yeah. I mean, some of it's fear. Some of it's
Lack of
impatience.
clarity?
Definitely lack of clarity. Right? What are we clear about? What are we trying to accomplish? Do we remember what we were trying to accomplish? Could be lack of vision. Are we going in the right path? Or it could be a lack of a target. Right?
Yeah, you said something just now that BH did bring up, how far we've come, right? It's Kierkegaard, life can only be understood backwards,
Mm-hmm.
but that but must be lived forwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, I put like circles. You can kind of see on the camera my notes of what you're saying here. How far we've come is the past. Big picture, like that's the North Star. South is like how far we've come. Big picture, vision, that's the North Star. And then what question mark in the middle? Like, where are we now? What's happening? What's around us?
Well, I think
Right? Where are we now?
when I run into too soon with solutions, is I get impatient. Like, I want to go now. Like, it's not ready, aim, fire. It's fire, ready, aim for me sometimes, and I have to be aware of that, because I'm like, well, let's just get to this now. Let's get it out of the way. I think some of that's personality, some of that's conditioning, some of that's like just a whole bunch of different things all balled up into one. And when sometimes it's just not being able to step back and slow down to speed up.
Vision Day.
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
Why is that a thing? So that was a great question. I didn't know you were bringing that in here, so I appreciate that.
Makes two of us.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vision Day, why we do it? So Vision Day is a time that we started years and years and years ago with our children, who are now grown. Right, they're adults. They live out on their own. My wife and I have been empty nesters now for 6-7 years. They left at the same time because they graduated at the same time. They were both out, never came back. They live close by. But my point, years and years ago when they were little, we thought it was important, just because we didn't have it. We didn't have anybody speaking truth into us, speaking vision into us, asking us what our dreams were, which is like, if you ask me, is somewhat abusive to do to kids when kids dream all the time. We're just naturally dreamers, right? As kids, as young kids, we dream about all these things, have all these aspirations, and everybody wants us just to be, firemen and doctors, right? It's like, what about an entrepreneur? What dreams do you have? What do you want to do for your family? What does that look like? Those kinds of things. What's the next step for you? And directing, right? And it's it goes back to, it just doesn't apply to adults. Kids, when there's no vision, people perish. I mean, they still might be here, but they definitely just go through life willy-nilly. So we started very young with them. Started getting together every after the holidays. We got
specific to after the holidays.
Yeah, so right at the beginning of the year, right? So when that New Year came around, so sometimes we did it like before New Year's, typically around that time, of just as a time of reflection. How did we do? What did we, get through? And of course, when the kids were younger, we didn't go through all these questions. As they got older and were able to take on more and understand more, we did that. We started building on it. We started helping them understand about themselves, what their values were. We, some of the instruments that we use, some of the assessments as they got older, we would use to just kind of guide, not as a silver bullet, but just kind of guide them and direct them to see if, as they created goals, if those things aligned with their motivation, how they were going to get it, what they might have trouble with getting, just from a a behavioral standpoint.
Yeah, what value does it come? What value comes to the listener to explore some type of psychometric test of understanding themselves? Like one of these tests, what value does that bring to the test taker or the?
Well, just to kind of know, like, I'm very big picture, but the reason that I need goals is to stay focused. Right? The reason my daughter might need goals is to be able to ask for help when she comes up against a risk, against what she would potentially see as something that might take some risk, but I know she can do it, but she doesn't yet know she can do it. For my wife, who will tell you, I mean, I'm not saying anything that she hasn't permitted me to say, but, she likes her little bubble, and she says that. And she's fantastic when she gets outside that bubble, right, and stretches herself, because she's very intelligent, extremely intelligent, like amazingly intelligent. I mean, that's what I think. That's where the kids got it from.
Wow.
But when she gets out of that bubble, it's just like, damn, you don't even know she had it, right? Because she's a lot of times it's just very quiet. But getting out of that comfort level, so she is very intentional every year, Jay, about setting goals that get her outside her comfort zone, and then bringing me back to reality, because some of my goals are way outside her comfort. It's like, what's reality, Eric? Just kind of bringing me back to reality. And then a few years ago, Jay, we had a couple knocks at the door during Vision Day, and lo and behold, our kids were starting to invite people
Really?
to our family Vision Day. And
No way.
I'm like, I really want like
Wow.
other people. I want other people to have vision, right? But I want our family. This is my family time. So what can we do? And what we came up with was a community vision day. And that's what we started 3 years ago. So in that day, we do the same things, just with a group of people. I mean, the first year we launched it, we had 50 people.
That showed up.
Yeah, last year was 80.
Really?
Yeah, who knows? This year could be 100. We could have the big JC there.
Wow.
It could happen, folks. It could happen.
If people are interested in, now, is this in the canyon?
No, this is
Okay, I
not
just
the
want to make
case.
sure.
Before you commit, right?
Yeah, I think I'm sick that day.
Yeah.
I just got a cold that day. I'm just a real quick a layout of like how that actually take place, what time people get there, when you kick them out, what the expectation, how much water they should bring
Yeah, so
to the Vision Day, not
yeah.
the canyon.
Yeah, to Vision Day. Great question. We people start filtering in about quarter after 8:30 in the morning. We start at 9. Lots of good breakfast food stuff we normally wouldn't eat. We have there good stuff. We provide lunch for them. We at the end of the day we all get back together. So in the back of the room we have it set up, because we want people to create a vision board.
Okay, so a board of a vision, their vision.
Yeah, so we go through, but before we get there, how to do that, how to set goals, why to set goals, give them some examples. My daughter comes up and gives a little spiel on the word of the year, which you and she have talked about. That's the thing she created. She brought into Vision Day for us. So she comes up and talks about the word of the year and how that plays out and how that should probably align to your goals and how to align those to your goals. Caleb comes up and talks about the adventures, because some people want to get out of their comfort zone. And what a great way to get out of your comfort zone than to spend a whole day in the canyon with us, Jay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's a dry heat in Arizona. It's a dry 120, right?
So why goals?
Yeah.
Word of the year, how to get the goal, how to actually
format them,
goals,
smarter, all that kind of stuff,
And the idea is to visually represent it on a board of some sense, to put where exactly.
I recommend front and center.
Okay.
Right. Looks a little weird in our bedroom, but my wife is okay with that. I mean, mine's right in front of my dresser.
Well, it's not like Ghostbusters, that guy watching them. I don't know. That just comes to mind, that scary man looking.
So I just put it so I could see it every day.
How many things should be on it?
I'm usually like a 4.
And how big is this
4
board?
to 7. Mine's really big because I've been doing it
I wonder
for
if
so
that's
many years.
Big board, and then someone has a little. People start with like a little square?
Yeah, I mean, we buy the ones that are about this big. I mean, mine's really big because what I've done.
Hey, how about for the listeners that are thinking, hey, that's a bunch of woo-woo?
You think?
Do I think that?
They think that.
Well, you know The Secret movie?
Yeah.
I've heard various pundits tease on that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making whether they fully follow it or starkly disagree, or there's a misunderstanding of like, there's a I think some people might think,
and we do that.
What
That's
does
a
this
good
do?
point.
What is this?
But we go over the
What's the
neuroscience
point?
of why that matters. Like in your brain, here's what fires. It's not just woo woo like something like that movie presented it as, especially if you weren't listening or just watching.
Yeah, like another thing to do.
Yeah.
Another thing that's not work. I want to bring the hammer down on my people.
Yeah.
You would say to that person what? Go back to Soviet.
Yeah, I mean, try it out. I mean, it's we're hardwired for that. We're hardwired for vision. We're hardwired to dream. We're hardwired to desire. I mean,
Mm.
I guess you would call me a little bit of a spiritual person, I would think, if you watch my life. You know, whatever, even the word desire, desire, I think it's Hebrew or Latin. When you break that up, means from the Father. So when I have that desire, when I have that
Wow.
calling, yeah, when you have it, I mean, you've got some kind of weird number on your phone, and it shoots up every time you call me, and I'm like,
It isn't
reminded,
my social.
yeah, and I'm like,
Mm.
man, and I'm always reminded when you call me that you got big goals, you got big dreams. Right?
Oh, really? That really crosses your mind?
Absolutely. Every time you call, I smile. It's not just
Thank you.
because I like you so much, but I'm like,
I
yeah,
appreciate that.
because I like seeing.
And for those that don't know, there's a numerical expression, right? A number on my phone saved as what is that? Like the background?
the screen saver.
Yeah, and it has a heck of a lot of significance to our family because there's a story behind it. There's a meaning associated with it. There's a plan associated. That's why I love this idea. All right, of putting that on a board or a wall, or paint the whole house.
Yeah, I mean, and what you do with that.
So you're saying when I call you, it pops up, and then
Yeah.
you think about what
Yeah.
I've thought, and then there's a connection, and
Yeah.
we're
So
conspiring.
every time I open this iPad,
Wow, you
that's
got to
my
show
my vision
the
board.
video here.
Yeah. So this
This
is
is
just
Eric's
my
vision board
I get
on
that.
his iPad.
Yeah, on my iPad. So that's it.
Wow.
Over the years. So mine's big, and over on the left-hand side, Jay, what I've done is when I have a crappy day, I go to the left-hand side. This is everything I've accomplished. I used to think
On the left?
on the left-hand side. These are the big goals, that I've accomplished over the years, and I look at it and I'm going like, oh man, that was such a big goal at the time. Like I look back at it, I was like, now I'm like, I wish I had that kind of problem. Right?
Wow.
But the significance in is like, hey, look, if I did it again, I can do it. If I did it one time, I can do it again. It really helps in those days, kind of like where I'm maybe second guessing even my why, is to get in there. And that's the other thing we do at Vision Day. We walk people around what's their why. Like it's not just, hey, I want to make $1 million. It's like, why do you want to do those things? Like what's your underlying why? Because when we tie it back to the neuroscience, you have to have that why if you want to reach your goals quicker. Because if you can get, I don't know how much you want me to talk about this, but if you can get emotionally attached to your why and those goals, they're going to happen quicker. That's the secret. It's just your brain, but we're wired for that, and that's the cool thing about it. And then we talk about community, like what we have here, what we've created, I've been fortunate, blessed to come into one relationship. Because of that relationship, get to meet you and have a friendship with you. We talk about that and why that's so important. Because you become what that circle is.
Mm.
Like, not only do you become what you think about, you become who you put yourself around. So I'm sure your hair's going to grow out here pretty soon, so we can look exactly the same. But no, I mean, it's like, that's why I give you such a hard time about doing the podcast. For those of you that don't know, I give Jay quite a bit of strife about.
Yeah, we got to do more.
Doing the podcast and being a guest and things. And I have been a guest, but I love being a guest because you make me think. Like it's back and forth. It's not difficult, and I do believe we bring great value to people when we do it, like because it's we sharpen one another. It's these ideas that we share back and forth.
It reminds me this vision board of Rule 2 in the Beyond Order. Imagine who you could be and aim single-mindedly at that. And then it reminds me of Rule 3 and 12 Rules, which is make friends with people who want the best for you.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness, yes. The first time I read that, I've read that many times now, but I want to come back to the aim too. So say that again, Jay.
Beyond order, right? Rule
Yeah.
2.
No, not that one.
Oh, the rule 3
Yeah,
of 12
I
rules?
want to come back to the aim.
Yeah, make friends
Yeah.
with, I
Peop-
believe it's
pe-
people who want the best for you, not
ge-
those. Make
Yeah.
friends with people that want the best for you.
Yeah, I mean that.
In between rule.
And I think people just haphazardly, to your point, people just haphazardly become friends and acquaintances with everybody without asking that question. Yeah, I talked to you about those couple other people. I used the example of the guy, the leader that, basically his advisor, and I told him the truth. The guy that's in, one of my circles that just gets so passionate about things. I know he has the best for me. He wants me to be better, right? He's told me, but he gets very excited when I have an issue, right? And it can come across as, man, dude, chill, right? To other
Sure,
people. I
sure.
see it as he just cares because he does want me to get better. I would say, I feel like I have that relationship with you. I feel like I have it with Brian. And the other thing, it's a good feeling, right? It's a good feeling to have that and know who those people are because they're making you better. They just generally have your best interest. Yeah, that's what I tell my son. Like, yeah, there's nobody that wants you to be better than themselves other than me. Like, I want you to be a better version of who I am.
Wow.
Right? I want you to be your best. I don't want to they're in no way snub you from being the best that you can be. And I want that for them. And I think we should do a better job with our friends of wanting that for our friends, of being excited. I mean, that's one of our core values. I mean, people laugh at it a lot of time, but we're just more cowbell.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what that means is like when you succeed, if you're in that circle, when you succeed, everybody succeeds. I get excited about that. That's what
Wow.
that means, and to have that as part of our culture, that it really was part of our family because we had two kids that excelled at different things. And it's like, no, we're not competing against one another. You don't get my love because of what you do, right? You need to bring your best self. I'm going to bring my best self. Your mother's going to bring her best self. The two of you are going to bring your best selves, and you're going to focus on that. And when one wins, we all do.
That reminds me of rule 2. I believe it's rule 2.
Are we coming back?
Is it rule 4? Rule 4 and 12 rules for life. Compare yourself or treat. I'm sorry. Yeah, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Yes.
That was a core principle of your family's dynamic to help
It still is, yeah.
both children excel in their domains of giftedness that were different, you're saying. So there's less
like
tribalism
friction because
more alignment or cohesion.
Because you don't want one kid saying, well, you like
appreciation
her better than me or whatever.
Sure. So more cowbell.
Yeah, more cowbell. We celebrate all that. When somebody has a victory, we celebrate that with a little cowbell ring.
Really?
We actually have a big cowbell, like huge cowbell in our office. We have the little cowbells that you might have seen around, but we have a huge cowbell in our office that we ring.
Yeah. Now, what about what about how often should I look at my vision board?
Well, I know what I'm going to tell you. I write my goals down every morning, right? I think the more you keep them in front of you, the more you're just activating, your reticular activating system. The more you can see that, it's like buying a new car. Like anytime you've driven off the lot with a new car, you see that car everywhere, as opposed to before you bought it, you didn't see it anywhere. And then as you drive it off the lot, that's how your brain works. And the more you can feed it what you want instead of what you don't want. Many people just focus on what they don't want. That's why people struggle, like with Vision Day, or call it hooey, like, or woo woo, right? It's like, well, I didn't get this in my life. Well, okay, did it align with who you are? Did it align with your why? Or did you actually go after it? Like if you say you want to lose 30 pounds, but you're still sitting on a couch eating Oreos and Doritos, that's a problem.
Yeah. How am I supposed to know what to say no to if I don't know what I'm saying yes to?
Yeah. And going back to that aim a little bit, you have to have a target.
What have you seen from people that have that target that make the sacrifices?
Well,
Like
one,
throughout your tenure, yeah.
yeah, I mean they understand that there's going to be sacrifices first and foremost. Like I can't be out boozing all the time if I want to have 6-pack abs. If I want to be alert for my clients, even or my family, I can't be doing those kinds of things.
So sacrifice is a component of this aim,
Yeah,
having this aim.
I think so. And then
Why can't I have my cake and eat it too?
you could. It wouldn't feel as good when you get there, though. I mean, it comes with sacrifice, and it also you have to understand it comes with suffering. That's what a lot of people in this culture, I think, miss. You know, I'm sure you've heard it, and you'll hear it even more in your career because you're a little bit younger than me. But I've heard it a lot. It must be nice to do what you do. Yeah, well, it is. Right now, it is. Sucked 20 years ago when I was fighting and clawing for every little.
How did you get people to take you serious in the beginning?
Oh, I think some of it was just a straight up belief in myself, and having that belief system portrayed back to me by my wife, my partner in life, and then it's just proof of concept. You just have to, hey, let me play, try me out, and sometimes it would be try me out for free, see what happens. If it doesn't work, there's no loss to you.
What would you attribute to such long-term client relations?
For me, it's just when they can see it, it's just a dedication to what they want done. It goes back to what we were saying, right? I want what's best for them. If I can continually and consistently put that in front of what I need, it's always typically a win-win.
You think that's learned or innate?
I had to learn that.
Really?
Some of it was innate, but I think I really had to learn, like, especially in our culture, like it says it's such fear and anxiety driven that, hey, look, if you just do what's right by people, eventually that will catch up to you. It's the law of, you can either be a giver or a taker. What do you choose to be? Many people in our culture are takers. If you choose to be a giver, that law of reciprocity comes back. You reap what you sow.
You have a word for 2025?
I think I do. Yeah, I think
Are you
it's
waiting to share it, or
I'm a little I get a little stubborn with my words. Sometimes I get a little.
like do you wait till 2025 to release it, or to generally, or
No,
do you do
just
it earlier, or will you
I think I know what it
wrestle
is.
with it for?
Yeah, I do wrestle with it quite a bit sometimes. Like last year was like I did not want that word at all. I think you saw it on my vision board maybe there.
No.
My word last year.
Anti-establishmentarianism is a long word.
It was surrender.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, ugh, I don't want that word. And I hate it every year now because we do Community Vision Day and we're explaining the word, and I know it's coming. Somebody's going to ask me what my word is. And last year, that scared me. I was like, what does surrender mean? Does that just like screw everything? What does that mean? To me. So I had to figure out, I had to pray about it, what that really means to me. The year before, the word scared my wife. The year before that, especially when I announced it to the crowd, was fire.
Fire.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, that's just what he needs. More fire, right? And this year, I think it's going to push me, but I want to make sure it's aligning with my goals. So I'm always looking for that. I think it's going to align. I wrestled with it over vacation for, oh my goodness. It's just so funny how I get away in December and it seems to always just hit me and then it won't go away. It's like a bad sore over vacation. I was just like,
So you have it.
just give me a break. I think I do.
Here's just a little sentiment on your word 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A fire broke out backstage in a theater. The clown came out to warn the public. They thought it was a joke and applauded. He repeated it. The acclaim was even greater. I think that's just how the world will come to an end. To general applause from wits who believe it's a joke. Soren Kierkegaard. Yes. It's from one of my favorite books, Either Or.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fire. Fire.
Yeah. And see, I put some meaning around it. You know, I put a definition.
And what was
to it.
what was it really what was the driving force in that?
I think one of the driving forces that year was to be what I can be. Like I hold off a lot of times. Right. You know, I wrestle a lot with the desire or what's God calling me to do, my conscience. And I go, you know, like I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to be that. I don't want to go. I don't want to put the effort in to go that extra step, even though it keeps smacking me in the face. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need. There was opportunity that year that I had to take advantage of, and I'm glad I followed it. I mean, that was when we started. We started down the road of our adventures. Had I not been true to that, I'd never met Brian. Would have never met you.
Really?
Yeah.
Good thing your word wasn't water.
It's funny that it was fire because of how I
Yeah.
met Brian, because it relates back to another goal that I had that year, which is crazy. We shared it a couple of times a day on some calls, but my goal that year when I met him was to get clear on who my inner circle was. That was that was the goal, and it actually said inner circle. Those words were used in that goal.
So speaking and saying out loud, you know, what if it's as commonsensical as if I say something, people hear it. I don't just hear it, and I know when I'm deceiving myself. People hear it. Now there's accountability.
Yes and no. He just has to be the right person.
Mm.
I think you don't do it to everybody because it tricks your brain into saying that you've already accomplished it.
Ooh, can you elaborate on that?
The best I can. I mean, you just don't want to go willy-nilly. A couple reasons. You don't want to tell everybody because most people will be naysayers. I can look at you and tell me my goals, and you're going to immediately go, "Yeah, we're in." You're going to tell me yours, and I'm like, "Okay, Jay, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm behind you 100%, man." There are people that are just naysayers. You know, Brian was just in here saying, and I heard the same thing from my family when I started my company. Like, families don't, like, you shouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? Take it easy. Those kinds of things. Why do you want a goal so big? Like, you shouldn't want a goal that big. You know, whatever, because it doesn't fit in their paradigm. It doesn't fit in their purview. And you know, it's like looking at that and saying, okay, well, who do I tell? If you tell too many people, the other thing too is your brain starts thinking that it actually has been accomplished, so you back off.
Wow, wouldn't it be a fairly helpful anecdote to just go for nothing, aim for nothing, do nothing, and just tell everybody all these things?
But I mean, going back,
if that helps.
Let's not forget going back to aim, because you mentioned Peterson's a second, and you know, you have to aim. You have to have an aim. You have to have a target, and you have to aim high. It's your responsibility. It's your moral duty to aim high, I believe.
Well, let's invert, right? Like, what would be valuable above aiming low?
United States. I mean,
What would
Be
be
mediocre because you fit
what
in.
would be valuable? Aiming low.
You fit in.
What does that even mean? Aim
Yeah.
low.
Well, let's be middle class. Let's be mediocre. Like even if
You
you're
go low enough, it's hell.
yeah, then we're not called to hell. We're called to heaven, right?
So there's
We're
something
called to
even deeper
create.
in our individual, in our
Yeah, I mean,
in
we're
our condition.
again for me. Like
We're
if I read the
called.
Bible, we're called to bring heaven to earth.
Imagine the Bible was actually all advice of how to just ruin everything. Right? Like, could you even imagine? It's like this book, yeah, for thousands of years, it's been cultivated to just make everything bad for you.
Yeah,
But no, it doesn't seem to do that for individuals.
yeah.
Like that doesn't
It tells
seem
you
to
what
be
to
its,
avoid.
its purpose.
Yeah, and it tells you why you're screwing up.
But
And if
it's
you
not.
look at,
But
that's not
imagine
its
it
purpose.
was
Yeah,
aimed at
yeah, that would be
leading
crazy.
you. Yeah, so like that makes me think it's even more significant than I have previously thought. It's like this thing's been around so long, kind of being edited and edited and edited, or morphed, and
Well,
it's not telling us to aim low. Do everything you can to just undermine every possibility for
that's like
yourself.
that's
Must mean something.
yeah, the Jesus when he was at the well of Bethesda, right? You familiar with that?
No,
The
did he
water?
push somebody in?
No,
No.
I mean you got a guy that sat there, and I'm going to botch the story a little bit, so give me some grace here.
You
But
wouldn't be alone. I'm
yeah,
sure the writers.
yeah, but he's sitting there, he's paralyzed, right? The guy's paralyzed, sitting on the mat for years and years and years and years. But the whole story goes around every so often in that water. If you get in when it started to swirl, I believe, if you got in, you would be healed. Well, Jesus shows up, and this guy has been there for years and years and years, never been healed. And Jesus, you can see what he needs. You can see what this man needs. He needs to walk. And he starts making excuses. But Jesus asked him, "What do you want? Tell me what you want." "I want to walk." "Then walk. Pick up your mat." That's what he says. Aim high.
Wow.
Right? Aim high. He did it again with the blind man. "What do you want?" "Dude, I'm blind." "Oh yeah, but what do you want?" He knows what you want.
And
Aim high.
what did he say? What did
I want to see.
and then what did he say?
Yeah,
Aim.
yeah, yeah. He said, I want to see. See. He commanded it. Think about that when we, I'm getting way maybe too spiritual
Well, you have to
here,
think
but
what you want.
but I mean, it gives me goosebumps to think about that.
Ask
Like,
ourselves, what do we want?
like if I have that in me, if I'm created, if you believe in that, if I'm created in the general terms of my Creator, and He's calling me to these things, He's calling me to aim high. He's calling me to have a great family. He's calling me to have great friendships of people who care deeply for me, are willing, like when I cry, they cry, that's heaven on earth. We're missing the boat so much when we don't follow those things, when we play mediocre, when we just play on the sidelines. It's going to be gritty. He suffered. Look at every influential person in the Bible, the people that you know, even if you don't read the Bible. They suffered.
Well, who didn't?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that's just table stakes. Get on the bus, man.
Part of the process.
Yeah. And that's that process that you and I talk about even when we're just having a random conversation. We're making each other better by making each other think. You and your wife, your wife and I were just talking earlier about our relationship, and I'm like, well, yeah, we help I think, for me, what you do, I mean, you help me think and want to, continue to want to be better. And hopefully I do that for you. Right. And it's just, when it's a process. When you continue to work on yourself, bigger and better things come, but you've got to be willing to step on the court. You've got to be willing to play.
Wow.
We've really gone.
Eric, this will be your last invite. It's too much value. If you're listening to this episode of the Culture Matters
Wow.
podcast, I challenge you to follow up just your Instagram.
Center for Victory.
Center for Victory.
Center for Victory, yeah.
And the podcast.
Your best day yet.
And go on there and type in my name. And
Yes.
go to the Culture Matters podcast and type in Eric Guy. It's spelled ERICGUY. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. Come to Vision Day if you're interested.
If we get enough people, Jay will show up. That's what he said. If we get 100 people. he will
Listen,
show up.
you don't have to
Special
convince
guest.
me. If you're not there, you're a fool.
Thank you.
I mean, you have to be genuinely. And so an idiot isn't necessarily somebody that hasn't been gifted by, maybe that's their gift, maybe. I want to be clear. Idiot would be like, you have the potential and you're willingly choosing not to choose. So I just want to be clear. You're a fool if you're not there. Now, if you have an obligation and like you've given your word to somebody, you know, or you're sick, follow us at, well, you don't have to follow anything. You're already subscribed.
Yeah.
Or don't listen to this. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time.